Senator Tommy Tuberville joins us on Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick network. Coach, it is great to have you back on. Hope things are well.
Well, it's never well up here in Washington, D.C. I call it the clown show. So clowns are out of the tent today. We normally get out of there mid-afternoon on Thursdays, so most everybody's left. But I don't think we ruined anything these 3 or 4 days we've been here. But we'll start back again next week, see how much problems we can cause.
You were attacking the clown show that is name, image, likeness. You've been doing that for a year now, and a bipartisan bill that you're currently trying to come up with Senator Joe Manchin. And once again on Capitol Hill last week, you were vocal in calling the current setup a disaster. I know that Nick Saban and others were there to voice their opinions as well. Where are we as of right now, based on last week's meetings and knowing where we're headed across the college landscape?
Well, very good meetings. It was good to have them all here face to face. And we had, 15, 20 coaches and athletic directors and presidents. They're all concerned, and rightly so, because we're going to ruin college sports, women's sports, Olympic sports. We're going to do tremendous damage to everything that we have had for many, many years. That's very entertaining, and plus it gets a great education for many, many young men and women. That being said, Joe Manchin and I have been working for probably a little over a year with this. Now I've been taking advice from coaches and players and parents and athletic directors, and we've just been looking at the process. Now, it is an absolute mess. We might be able to cure cancer before we put an answer to this, but I think we've got a good bill. We've got a good text. Again, we had one finished when the coaches got here and the athletic directors. Some lawyers obviously have to have them involved. We sat down and we looked at it, and they had some great suggestions. So we made some changes, and so the text is about finished. And what we'll do is we'll start pushing it out and start building some support for it here in the Senate and in the House. We've got to have both. Up here, you got to have both, and it's got to be strong, and then the president's got to sign it. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to make it simple, but we want to make it for the athlete. We want to save sports, and we want to save education. I'm all for the players making money. I was in it for a long time. But we got to be sensible about this, and we got to do it the right way, and hopefully we can help.
Do you feel as though you're doing more than helping, though? Do you think you're bailing out the NCAA? Are you saving the NCAA as much as athletics here in terms of fairness? Because they took a step back and allowed this to get where it is currently. Are you pushing the NCAA to come up with a new model, or is this federal legislation allowing the NCAA to just sign up and be on board with?
Yeah, I don't know whether we're saving them. They got themselves in a problem. I've never been a big NCAA fan because they got way too much to do. It's hard to manage all those sports and do it the right way. But they got more lawsuits than they can handle, and they're trying to go through us where we can help them with that. We need to be able to get it to the point where liability is not a factor. But again, we need to do it here in the federal jurisdiction. As I told the coaches, what we do now is not a rule, it's a law. And so what we want to do is put 4, 5, 6 basic points out to where the NCAA likes it. All the athletes can deal with it, the coaches. We put those out there. And what we want to codify is to make all 50 states do the same thing on those 4 or 5 basic principles, and then go from there with NCAA. Because as we speak, everybody wants to do their own thing, and you can't do that. It's not fair. California is off the rails on this. They are off the rails. But again, we'll probably have some pushback from their senators in California. But hopefully, we can get to 60 votes in the Senate and get a majority in the House. And if we do that, and the president signs it, they're going to go by it, or they'll be breaking the law.
And Coach, speaking of the NCAA, something you were involved in for many years, how important is Title IX to you, and more importantly, protecting women's sports as a whole? How important is that to you?
It's a shame we're even having to talk about this. It's just absolutely amazing. That just shows you the direction this country's going. Identity politics are killing the American people. And I don't care who you are, what you are. You can be what you want to be. That's what this country gives you, an opportunity. If you want to be a giraffe, you can be a giraffe. I don't care. But men, biological boys and men playing in women's sports is wrong. And it should never happen. And I don't care what the White House says or the Democrats say. They know better, but they're bending over for people that they think are going to vote for them. It's not about helping America. This is about helping people get reelected. They will trade their moral values up here for a vote. And that is going to get us in trouble. It's already gotten us in trouble. I've got a bill that says Protect Women in Sports Act, and hopefully I can get enough people on the left to side with me on this and get this thing passed. But I'll tell you, after what I saw this past weekend with Pride Day at the White House, with the things that Joe Biden was saying about he's encouraging minors to transition, and the way they were acting in front of the White House with a pride flag above the American flag. Listen, I'll say I'm an American. We got one flag in this country, and that's the only thing that should be on that Capitol here and the White House of the United States of America. Now, again, you can be who you want to be. I don't care. But it's not fair to do what they're doing in Title IX and letting these young men and boys play against women. And I'll tell you, we're going to lose women's sports because their parents aren't going to let them play. I wouldn't let my granddaughter or my daughter dress in the same dressing room as a biological man. I wouldn't do it. And we're hearing all kinds of talk about this. And this is going to be a big agenda item in the next election that's really going to go the wrong way for the Democrats, hopefully.
Senator Tommy Tuberville with us on Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick network. You mentioned the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act that you had go through. It was blocked by the Senate, right? And then President Biden mentioned he would veto this if it got to his desk, all on the sake of those who would vote that way. I'm thinking in terms of bipartisan, I don't understand why women's rights, especially just in fairness in athletics, isn't a bipartisan issue right now if we're going to point to science and biology.
Tomorrow will be the 51st anniversary of Title IX. And it's probably the best thing, and there's not many good things come out of Washington, D.C., but the best thing that's ever happened, they started Title IX, which gave girls and women a fair chance along financial terms, coaches, facilities, and to enhance women's athletics. And my God, it's exploded. Women's softball on college campuses is one of the number one things going, and it continues to go straight up in terms of entertainment and people really get involved in it. That's what we want. Look at the leadership qualities that it gives opportunity for young girls and women to participate in, to learn from, just like the men have for years and years. So this White House and the Democratic Party, I don't know what planet they've come from, because the last few years, it sounds like nothing where they used to be. We're going to fight it. We're going to fight it tooth and nail. We're going to fight for girls and women. We're going to fight for Title IX, and we're going to fight for this country, because right now all this identity politics is separating us, dividing us, and there's going to be so many different cliques out there that we're not ever going to be able to get anything done in terms of making this country better.
Senator Tuberville, we were discussing to begin the show the LIV and PGA Tour partnership. They removed the word merger from the press release. We were stunned last week when this news broke on June 6th, I believe. What was your initial reaction? And I'm curious, what role do you believe Congress will have moving forward in this? A lot of conflicting reports on whether or not this will go through ultimately.
Yeah, well, I'm a big golfer. I love golf, love pro golf, and watching a little bit of the U.S. Open today. But I've been liking LIV golf. I was anxious to see a tournament in person. So 2 weeks ago, they had a tournament here in Washington, D.C. on Sunday. I went out. I thought, there'd be 3,000 or 4,000 people there. But I'm going to tell you, it was exciting to watch. They had music. It was entertaining. There was around 20,000 people there. They know, the PGA Tour knew they were in trouble because they were going to continue to lose their players. And so they did probably the right thing. They don't have the money to keep up with the LIV tournament. You'll still have the LIV tournament. It'll be there. You'll have the PGA Tour. I don't know how they're going to work this all out. I've talked to some people behind the scenes, but I'm going to tell you, if I've heard some of the senators up here talking about we need to get involved in this. No, we don't. We need to stay out of it. Let them work their way through this. Don't get us involved. It will be an absolute mess, because anything we touch, we screw up. And we don't need to mess around with the PGA Tour, the LIV Tour, let them work their problems out. They will be just fine. And it will be a better product from this. But again, I was very encouraged by watching the LIV tournament in person. And they knew, the PGA started watching this, and they knew that they had to make some adjustments or it was going to get really ugly on the PGA side.
Coach, also, we'd be remiss if we didn't congratulate you on being nominated for the College Football Hall of Fame class of 2024. So congratulations. That's quite the honor. And I know that you're aware of that with a lot of the names in that Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it is. I go every year. For years, we had it at the Waldorf in New York, and now we have it in Las Vegas because New York is not the best place in the world to visit. So we moved it out there. But it makes you feel good about it, but it also makes you feel good about the coaches and the players that you work with for all those years, and brings back old memories. And there's not a lot of people that get to have that opportunity. So I don't know whether I will get elected to be in, but just to be nominated means a lot to me. And young, poor kid from Arkansas that was a very average athlete that was bound and determined to become a college coach and ended up being National Coach of the Year in 2004. Dreams do come alive here in the United States of America, but you only get it if you work for it and you make goals. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not bashful. I work my tail off for all those years to work my way up and work for some great people, with some great people, a lot of great players. And what a life I've had the opportunity to live. Now I'm up here, totally different, but I can't say I'm enjoying it up here, but I'm glad I'm here because I'm trying to do the best I can for the people of Alabama and the people of America.
One final thought on name, image, likeness as we move forward. Do you think we'll get to a point where we see a break-off of maybe it's basketball and football that's regulated at the highest level, and if you want to join at a certain level and be a part of legislation that will govern and agree to a certain stance and rules for name, image, likeness, you can join. And if you don't want to meet that criteria, you can stay back in the NCAA. Does that make sense from a law and legislation, a rule stance? And if not, where are we in 5 years with this?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. You're on the right trail there. The NCAA can't handle football. They have no answers for it. There's so many athletes, so many coaches, so much money involved in it. But at the end of the day, the NCAA makes very little off of football. You know where they make their money, NCAA basketball tournament. I think you'll always see the basketball team stay in. They've got, 400 or 500 teams across the country that have an opportunity to make the tournament every year. I think the proper way to do this would be eventually, move to a football league, several different ones, and have their own governance, have their own commissioners, make their own set of rules. You know what dictates college sports as it does the NFL is money, the television rights. And man, I'd say the SEC, for instance, and the Big Ten are going to be making tens of millions of dollars over the next few years just on TV rights. So it's a great sport. We don't need to ruin it, but we're going to need some more governance. And hopefully we can help with this, what we're talking about with this NIL, but we're going to need more than that down the road. We're going to need to find a way to make this work and maybe at the end of the day, as you said, separate possibly. And we've been talking about this for years, having a super conference of 60, 70 teams and going down the road, but you also have to have another conference for the other teams, obviously. So we can work this out, but we got to put cool heads together and understand it might cost some people some money, but at the end of the day, this is about education and it's about entertainment and it's about young men and women earning the right to play a sport and learn something from the sport.
Senator Tommy Tuberville has been our guest here on Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick Network. Coach, always great to catch up with you. Thanks for the work you're doing there. And man, I know you said you can't describe it as you're enjoying your time there, but I'm not sure if you've seen the 2024 schedule across the SEC, but I'm not sure the coaches in the SEC, your former two-time head coach there, enjoying the schedule as the Texas and Oklahoma join.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be Brian Kelly at LSU. I saw that schedule. Holy cow.
I think every coach is thinking that right now.
Yeah.
Thank you as always. Let's catch up soon.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.